Hello and welcome to episode 14 of Let's Talk Tactics. I'm your host, Zach Burrell,
Hey, I'm Danyl.
Hey, I'm Locke.
and we are joined this week by a very special guest, JBenson, the champion of the Lunarian Cup. How are you, sir?
Doing well, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for putting up a great performance for everyone. I got to commentate a pretty good match between you and Mako, and I know you had some other great matches in the tournament, include kicking my ass. So good to have you
And
here.
mine.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you were the slayer of the top tier. Like a lot of the people at the top who had losses were to you. So it's pretty
Yeah, I feel like
insane.
I had a pretty rough road to get to the final. I mean,
Yeah.
even my first match was against Red Knight, who, I've seen around in the PvP channel. I know he's a great player in his own right. So I was actually, I was pretty scared I was going to lose that first one right off the bat. So
You
um,
earned it is what happened. So just let's have everybody learn a little bit about you. Kind of tell us your background with the Final Fantasy franchise, how you got into War of the Visions, and then sort of what brought you to PvP, or if that was like what you want to do in the whole time, or kind of how you got to where you are now, to where you're doing tournaments and stuff.
yeah, so I mean, in terms of Final Fantasy, I've been a fan ever since I was a kid on back on Super Nintendo. Played what was known as the time Final Fantasy 2, Final Fantasy 3. Later learned there was actually 4 and 6. 6 became instantly my favorite game and in the series, and to this day is my favorite. And that was followed closely by Tactics, which came out a few years later. Um, Played that game to death, and I was super excited when I heard that this game was coming out. I have played Brave Exvius for the last few years as well, but that I still do play it, but kind of casually, and that kind of took a back seat when Motive came out.
Nice. And then for PvP, kind of how long did it take you to actually do a match? Because I know a few of us, I've said it took me like 2 months before I did any live PvP. Did you like jump right into it? Like I think Locke, you said you jumped right into it like one of the first days, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Try it out. Why not? See what happens. Anyway, go on.
I was pretty curious about it. My account, I started off with Gilgamesh. That was my kind of first pull. UR, I didn't really realize at the time that he was going to cost me an arm and a leg, um, but yeah, once I got him to 79, and I would just like walk up and have him in the middle slot, I'd Kentetsu the whole team on the other side, and the match would be over, and that was pretty fun for the first couple of weeks. But yeah, that's where I started out, and I've played it, pretty much daily ever since. Got at least 5 matches, if not 10, 15, whatever I had time for. But it's definitely since they've added the auto option, it definitely has taken a turn for the worse in my opinion. Unfortunately, more people are active in it, but at the same time, it's hit or miss whether you're actually going to play somebody or play against the computer, which is unfortunate.
I'm so glad that it's not us saying it this time, and like I think the past two guests we've had have said the same thing about that. This is so great. Yeah, we've said it a couple times. I think we all kind of agree that it it's nice to see the higher population, but the quality of matches is lower just because you're not actually practicing in realistic situations against other players. So
Yeah.
it's been rough, but I'm hoping as class matches continue, people kind of get that drive to be like, yeah, maybe I do want to control my characters I've worked on for months and months and months.
I wasn't really aware of like the kind of community that you guys had been establishing, for some months now until the podcast actually was highlighted on Reddit, and that's kind of when I started joined into the Discord and heard about the tournament. So I'm definitely much newer to your guys' community, but I've been sort of, active within the game's PvP, system for a while.
Hmm.
I think that's something we didn't really consider when we first heard about this auto live PvP is what how it would affect the quality of our opponents. We were too busy being excited about more opponents, more matches.
Right. It's yeah. There's a lot of like weird things about that in PvP where you you don't think of like the secondary and tertiary effects of something. Like for tournaments specifically, a common one is, why don't we do tournaments for MR units for all the like free to play players? I'm like, that's not how that works. Free to play players don't typically build their MR units up. But
I feel like even like the players that I know that I've faced before and I have seen do manual before, like even they're on auto, and then maybe they'll turn it off when they see that I have my initial placement and I'm
yeah,
actually trying.
I've definitely seen that. It's funny too when you see your opponent, especially a name you recognize, they're on auto or something, and their Frederica moves first on auto, but then their second and further turns are on manual because they're like, oh shit, I gotta actually play this person because I know the name. I've had that happen against a couple people from the server. But yeah, so I guess was this your first tournament for the server, or have you played in previous ones? I forget.
It was the first one. Yeah, because I had literally just joined up in the Discord maybe a couple of weeks or a few weeks before it was announced.
Sweet, sweet. Now, how did you how did you enjoy the tournament experience? Because it's a lot different than doing live PvP when you have like registered rosters and you're talking to your opponents and setting stuff up. Just kind of give us a summary or like very sky level view of how it went for you.
I really enjoyed it. It was a little bit tough, because there was opponents from all over the world, so you had to kind of deal with different time zones, and that got a little bit challenging sometimes. But I felt like everybody was trying to work with each other and accommodating, in terms of playtime. And but yeah, everybody was really respectful and excited to play and put up good matches, and it was very competitive. Even against Locke, both of our I think I beat him 2-0 maybe, or 2-1,
so.
but both of my wins were to turns, so it was a very close match. So
yeah, I know some people hear turns like, oh, that means it took forever and like nothing happened. I'm like, that sometimes means a lot of stuff happened. Like there's a lot of back and forth and tiny little micro decisions. Like that's where it gets fun, is when you're down to those last like 15. You're like, oh no, I have to make something happen without letting him make something happen. That's where I live. I love it. So Locke,
I really enjoyed the format of kind of having that roster up front, because then you could, if you wanted to, you could put in time up front to like study your opponents and what possible compositions they might put together, and then come up with a strategy for, what cards you might put in play, or what espers, and outfit them accordingly, which is kind of what I did, kind of going into each match, saying, okay, these are the 2 DPS or whatever on their roster that I really need to look out for. This is the build that I'm going to come up with to, try to stonewall them as much as I can.
Exactly. I was pointing up. That's Daniel Boone's bread and butter right there. He sees the rosters on the last day, and he's like, "All right, now I pick my roster based on what everyone else has."
If I have to, yeah.
Yeah. So I know I think I asked you this last week, Daniel. Have you given any more thought about to what units you would have actually brought in if you had to pick 7? I know I didn't tell you anything about it, so probably not. But
no, yeah. This past week has just been a flurry of finals, like finishing school,
true,
getting it out of the way.
That's true.
I'm back in the zone, like literally this evening.
Nice. So Locke, you did play in raids. You did play in the tournament. How was your second half? Actually, I guess we didn't talk to you last week. So yeah, how was your whole experience with the tournament?
It was fun. It was good. I like the rule set. I thought it was a good rule set that we had, and it was a lot of fun. Yeah, overall it was great. I had a lot of really great matches, especially against JB. And usually if it goes to turns, that means both players are kind of stalling, but that didn't happen. We were actually both. If you, I think we both just at the get go we started fighting, and it just like took so long to to get the match underway. I think something like that, right? It's been a little bit.
One of the matches, like I think I brought Agrius and, well, I had my ice team, so I had Agrius and Gilgamesh with their barriers, and you had your Frederica, and my Gilgamesh had Death Machine with the 25 missile resist, and then I think I played the Mask of Deceit card, so I had another 20 there. So
Oh
you
man.
weren't able to do like a ton of damage.
I think I eventually killed your Frederica somehow, right? After
Yeah.
yeah, but that's why it took so long. That's why it was such a long match because it was just like whittling down like slowly, slowly, and then yeah, but like it's like actually I remember from that match, both of our matches, there was like one mistake that I made that I I recall in the back of my head. I'm like, oh man, I wish I hadn't done that or something like that. And I'm like, and maybe if I didn't do that, maybe I won, maybe I would have not. But like that's how critical, matches can be. When you're playing, when like players take it kind of seriously, and both of them are very good players, and like it's a lot of fun. The more effort and time and energy you put into it, the better the more you get out of it. I really enjoyed the tournament. It was a lot of fun. It was great to play against so many interesting players, and I finally actually got my first like double quicken match against a good opponent. Like I finally faced Vinny. I haven't faced him until now, so I was like, I wonder what to do, and it was funny because what I did, I just rushed up with my Glaciella because I wanted to throw him off where he's standing because I know like
Stride, yeah.
he's gonna double quicken them and do something, and my quickener was faster than his. So I moved my Glaciella up and tried to like disrupt him, and it kind of worked because so he had to move out of the way, which threw off his timing. So the next like 15 turns were spent like waiting because both of us were trying to get like a good quicken comp setup thing done. But finally, his double quicken just killed me. so, so I'm like, okay, so that's how it works. So, but overall it was great. I like the format. I also like the VC restriction. I think that was good, especially for players that don't have three VCs, three UR VCs, and like really good VCs. So I think it was great. I think it was really well done.
So something I want to ask you too, that I sort of started to notice after round 2 or 3. Did you feel that the map picks and bans were as impactful as they were made out to be in the first place, or do you think they kind of defaulted to maybe this almost the same every match? Because it seemed like in a lot of my matches, people disliked the same maps, and preferred the same maps. So I played on almost very similar games throughout the whole tournament. Did you guys have similar experiences? We'll start with Locke.
Yes, I think most of my matches were played on like 3 maps, and in fact, I always had the same ban order on every time I was banning. So
It
I
never
always
mattered what the
banned.
roster was.
No, I mean, like part of it for me is also like the fun, right? So
Yeah.
I hated the square arena map because that's what I always play in match battles. So I always ban that first, regardless of whatever's happening. And then the graveyard is the one that I have the least experience with, so I just banned that one too because I don't remember what the heights and stuff is. Um, the funny thing is, like the Square Arena match, I wasn't playing in that tournament that we had last time when the Square Arena map was featured. So I had the least experience with it, but it was the most fun. So I always kept picking that one because it was just so fun,
Wait,
to
Square,
play.
you mean the Circle Arena?
Sorry, the Circle Arena. Yeah, that's
Okay,
right. The
I was
Circle
like,
Arena map.
but you banned the Square Arena.
No, I banned the Square Arena. I kept picking the Circle Arena. Circle Arena. And it has so many blind spots that I just didn't realize because I was playing gunner, so I'm like, yeah, I can shoot over the wall, but not if you're like right in front of the wall or if you're it's just weird. So that cost me a few matches, but it was fun.
Stupid Coliseum.
Yeah, that map is something. So what about you, JBenson?
So I pretty much banned the same maps as well. I always banned plains and I always banned snowy fields. Just snowy fields was mostly. I mean, I had a potential good composition, I think, for it. I had double gunner, which I could have broken out, but I just didn't have a ton of experience on it, and it's a newer map. I didn't want to risk that. On the comfort level on the map. So I would always ban that one. And plains, I just hate that map. I hate the whole middle platform, and it just causes a lot of awkward interactions there for me. So
Yeah, it does. That was the map. I still remember we had that tournament. At the time, a lot of people were still new to the tournament scene and still learning about like just how to face against certain units. And Red Knight hadn't played against Jamming Thrust yet, and he didn't realize that it could go through walls. So he just walked up to the edge of the mountain and just like stood there with somebody. And I just walked up with Rain. I was like, Jamming Thrust, and it just one shot his guy, and then I think he ended up conceding shortly after. He's like, I'm such an idiot. Like, I didn't realize that's how that worked. Like, yeah. I love planes though.
I like planes too, actually.
I know it was I think it was Irish. I talked to a lot, and he knows that I love the map. So his first ban against me, planes, and he had like a winky face. I was like, okay. Yeah. So something interesting I wanted to bring up here. What would you guys guess is the most represented unit for the tournament? I kind of spoiled this before the podcast, so it's not going to be that interesting. But number 2 might surprise you. Oh, and there's a good clickbait YouTube title, by the way. You might be surprised with no. So we're gonna talk about it. So Halloween Lolita was the most represented unit in the tournament at 16. There were 25 entrants. Obviously, you can't play 2 Halloween Leelas yourself, so that means 16 different people brought that unit. That's pretty insane. I don't know, roughly percent wise, it's like what 70%, 80, somewhere in that range. That's a lot of people. Agrius, we also talked about. Was up there as well. Who do you think number 2 was, though? You can just yell it out, whoever wants to guess.
Frederica.
So Frederica was number 5.
Kane?
Kane was number 4.
I was going to say Kane.
Number 2 was Kilfe. So there were 16 Halloween Leelas, 15 Kilfes, 14 Agrius, 12 Kane, and 11 Frederica. And those were the only double-digit units.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I didn't expect to see Kilfe that much, just because while I do believe she is a very high-level PvP unit, I expected things like Kane to kind of make people want to build like physical teams more, and then she would kind of not have as much of a home with other units. But next after that, there were 9 Gilgamesh, 9 Halloween Ryu, 8 Ayaka, 8 Glaciella, and then we start getting into like 5s and 4s. There were 4 Rosa, which was cool.
If I could just mention just briefly,
Actually,
like my thought.
Wait, real quick. 3 of the Roses are in this cast, right?
Probably.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Let's go.
Nice.
All right, sorry, Daniel, what were we saying?
Just briefly, like it's interesting that Kilfe was second when Halloween Leela is first. Like conventionally, like Kilfe struggles against somebody like Leela when she generally is used to combat like physical units, so yeah, crazy.
But I think that's a benefit. Sorry.
Oh, sorry, no, you can go.
I think that's a benefit of having 7 units, because if my opponent is bringing Leela, so if you actually look at the top 4, you have 1 ice, 1 wind, 1 earth, 1 thunder, right? And they all counter each other. So
in top 5, yeah, Kane's 4. It's dark. Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay. So Kane and Stern. Okay. Well, if you ignore them, because they don't really have a weakness being dark and light. But Kilfe counters Frederica, who's countered by Halloween Leela, who's countered by Agrius, and so I think that's.
And then Agrius is just at the top, like, come at me, bro.
Because she doesn't have a viable fire. Like even rain doesn't really damage her, right? We need a physical fire unit to take her out, and I think that would probably be in the top 5 if someone is released. So we're all waiting for Luasa, I think.
And yeah, Mashri wasn't out yet, or Winter Mashri. So yeah, no, Agrius is a problem. I know JBenson and I both played the ice team in the tournament, which was Gilgamesh, Agrius, and Rosa. So to kind of tell me about what you really like about that team and how good it was for you through the tournament, because I know it was good for you.
Yeah, so I mean, it's kind of become my favorite team. I practice it a lot just in the free match. With the tournament restrictions, and occasionally I would get a good match, but I love that Rosa has she has that healing, but she also has like the surprise damage factor with the human killer in her kit, and a decent amount of attack. Her base attack is higher than you would think for kind of a support first character, but she has that status protection, which I knew I'd be seeing a lot of Agrius, and Pure Prayer covers the majority of what she brings, outside of disable. So she has the Imperil of 38% for ice, so that sets up Agrius and Gilgamesh to do more damage. Gilgamesh is my quickener, to I I tend not to overuse it. I kind of only bring it out when I know that I'm going to be able to get a good play. Um, but yeah, then Gilgamesh can set up the Kotetsu for even more damage with Agrias, so that I can afford to build, um, those two characters, which are, with their barriers up, they're, two of the better bruisers in the game, I think. Um, but I can build them defensively and still have good damage.
Yeah, that's basically exactly what I would say, except I was probably a little more on the Quicken train just because I know the impact of like Agrias and Gilgamesh against some people. Just the like psychological factor of like someone seeing Gilgamesh charging and then an Agrias walk up as far as she can, like that just makes them, it forces them to play around it, and they have to spread out so they don't get like CC'd in certain ways. They have to get out of lines, and just that like mind game can mess with people. And sometimes you could just cast haste or something. But more often than not, I'm like, yep, this is Quicken, and I'm gonna hopefully win this coin flip and then try to win the game from there. Yeah, that team's been bonkers. Like just between the Imperil plus slash down, making Agrias a real threat while also building her tanky is just amazing. I know I built her basically pure tank, and then she was still doing like almost 3,000 damage with her taunting blades on people just because they were so weak to her damage types. Now the other team you used was primarily was that evade team, right? Like, or did you end up using who's your last unit?
Frederica was the last unit I
Frederica.
brought.
Okay.
I only ended up using her once, which was against Zenith, I think. And I had won the first game, and then I think he may have won one, so he had to bring 2 water units to the next match. So I brought her out,
Ooh.
and yeah, that
It went well.
yeah. So yeah, it was primarily that of a team of Super Stern, Kane, and Leela. Kane, I mean, he's got pretty good base luck, so he can be moderately of 80 with illusion up, but he just I'd kind of set him out on his as kind of like a flanker almost, and then I would keep Leela and Stern tight just for affinity.
Mhm.
Kane, like with the mortal spirit and like long range heals, like he can kind of go off on his own mission a little bit. And then with the kind of reduced power level of the MR evasion cards, the affinity ended up being a big deal and something I was always trying to pay attention to. So
Yeah, we saw the impact of that in the finals actually against Mako. His chances, you guys were using the exact same vision cards. I believe you both had the Chocobo one. Yeah, so you had the same vision cards. You both had Ruin Stern, both had Halloween Leela, and the difference was Kane versus, I think he had Ketone.
Ketone, yeah.
So obviously Katone's more evasive but less damage output, especially because he wasn't building her for Drain Force at that point. He had her on Time Mage for haste to try to like outspeed you. But that the percent chances, because I was watching from his perspective, he was in like the 40s, 50s when your units were all close together. But then when you went up, you hit him on a 65, right? Is what it was.
Yeah. Yep.
So that affinity plays a huge role, because I imagine you both had your jobs at like 15, 15, 15. So the only difference there would be the affinity.
No, it was the 65%. You never feel like super great about it, but I mean it's pretty good odds. Anything
It's
above
favorable.
60%.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I tend to shy away from any. Sometimes you have to take those lower percentage ones, but anything less than 50%, it's always like you kind of close your eyes when you hit confirm.
Yeah,
I will never forget getting like washed out of tournaments because of missing like 77% and stuff.
You have no
But
right.
97.
Danyl was my second, the second finals. But yeah, I mean, there's always that crazy RNG factor. Like another example from obviously Danyl came out ahead in the tournament that we're referring to, where I missed my 97% full life in the game 3, but in game 2, it came down. It was game 1 or game 2. It came down to sleeps, and this man casted sleep 5 times on my units and hit once. The very next game, I hit 2 in a row. So like, that's
Yeah, it was
another
the
that's
first
another one of
game.
those that just feels so bad. I think we were typing in the chat. I'm like, I'm sorry. Yeah, the coin flips, especially with like aggregates games, are crazy. But yeah, when you get into those evade matchups, I know Locke, you've talked about before. You really enjoy evade mirrors, right? Because of the sort of the mind games and trying to get higher chances in your opponent by flanking and going around and stuff, right?
Yeah, and also the affinity. So like in mirror matches, affinity was great, and especially because at the time Killfay wasn't out, so there was no AOE sure hit damage, right? So everyone would if you're fighting an opponent that's evasive, there like you can keep all the units together, um, and try to figure out a good placement so that you have better affinity to deal damage. Like it was just crazy. It was a lot of fun. It was like one of the most fun games that I had
And
at the time.
and no Roar of Ruin Hazard Crusher or whatever it's called. Which is that's the thing about evade mirrors now, is like if you're both using Ruin Stern, like he has that accuracy buff, and then like you're in danger. Like it's gonna be above a 50% typically from what I've seen. So he's kind of terrifying being both for and against evade. Which, by the way, might surprise you. There were only 4 Ruin Sterns in the event, according to the count I have here. And real quick, before we move on too far from it, I was just gonna mention some other interesting unit choices that showed up. So there were 2 Shell and 2 Yerma. I guess I probably didn't expect more Shell just because of limited roster. Although I
use
did.
Shell.
Yeah, you
Shell
did.
is
You're
fun.
one of the 2. Yep. I don't know who the other one was. I took the
Vinny.
names off the list. Oh, it was Vinny. Okay. I thought he didn't have her fully built yet. So.
I mean, I fought his Shell, so
No, there you go.
there you go.
You are right. But then all the one-ofs were Eileen. There was one. I wonder if you can guess who that was. The tournament.
Fought that one too.
Grace won. Helena won. Also Vinny. Howlett won. Katone won, which was Mako. Oldoa made an appearance. I never saw her play, but I'd be curious to talk to that player to see how that went. Phoebe won, which was that no? Was that you as well?
That
Locke?
wasn't me.
That wasn't
No.
you. I gotta put the names back. And then 1 Ramza, 1 Skull, which was also Orange. 1 Vadim, which Sasaki, the true gentleman, bringing Vadim, and then 1 Wall as well. Another one that I'd be curious how that went for whoever used him, because I know Wall, he's good. He's a very good unit. He's just really slow and typically doesn't perform great in live PvP from what I've seen. Yeah, and then we had like some, 3 Ziza, 3 Victora, 3 Mustadio, some units like that. Pretty good variety though. Actually, the total number of different units was 35, so not too bad. Not just like a 7-unit meta like some people would like to claim, from what I've heard. So,
I was pretty impressed with Mako's Cecil. I think he used him pretty effectively with Katone, especially because in the match earlier in the Swiss rounds where he beat me, I didn't really have any answer to. He surprised me first with Cecil's damage on Rosa, which kind of took her out of the game, and then after that I just had nothing for the barriered Katone. So.
Yeah, Barrier Katone with Drain Force seems pretty terrifying. It's like, oh, you hit me for half my health instead of me dying. Oh, and now it's full again. You have to deal with that a couple times. Maybe Utusemi's in there too, so it's hard to hit her.
Yeah, I think that kind of support play style for him is definitely can see some use, especially on some characters that you might have kind of maybe taken for granted from like earlier metas that, if they have that 50% barrier now that, it kind of, you can see him in a new light, I think.
I have a guildie who's practicing for class match 3, where you can't use Quicken, can't really rely on healing too much, or at all really. And he's using Cecil with Venera to combat gunners, which sounds weird, but at the same time, it's like Venera does have innate missile resist, and if you add that 50% physical on top of that, she actually doesn't take a lot of damage from. It takes 2, 3, sometimes even 4 sharpshoots, depending on how the gunners are built, which can vary because of the cost restrictions. So yeah, I completely agree. Cecil's a unit that, had I had more time, he might have replaced Stern for me. because I was very uncomfortable playing Runestern throughout the tournament. I talked about this last podcast, but Cecil was something I had. He was like my 8th, 9th choice. I kind of wish I had seen that ahead of time. So that's cool you mentioned that. Now, let's see here. Going through. Okay, so just to kind of wrap up conversations about the tournament, I want to ask you, JBenson, as kind of the guest in this being your first tournament. In the future, what kind of rule sets would you like to see for in terms of I guess main event tournaments, but also maybe some fun like side event tournaments as well?
So I think it might be kind of interesting, like flipping the rule set from cards to units. So maybe you can bring whatever cards you want, but you can only bring one UR unit. I think that might be kind of interesting. Maybe I'm not sure what you guys have done in the past in terms of
that's
rule
why I actually
sets,
wanted to
but
ask you, because I figured you wouldn't have that previous bias and you just be like,
Yeah.
oh, here's my idea, and see if it's like new or if it's overlap or what it is.
maybe like a pure MR, like top to bottom, would be kind of cool. Kind of see some units that you don't see out there every day. I mean, that's kind of maybe a couple that come to mind.
Cool. Yeah, no, I didn't expect like a very like crazy long list, put you on the spot there. But I always think it's interesting to hear, especially after people's first tournament, what they would like to see from future ones. And that's useful input anyway, because I mean, as somebody who I guess I'm going to be helping out make the tournaments now, and Locke, I don't know if you want to continue helping as well, but it's good for us to have the input from as many sources as possible. So thank you.
Yep.
So moving on to sort of this week in the game, we have a raid. So Soul of Thamasa is an item now. Let's go, Danyl. I know we've been talking about tournament, kind of leaving you out here, but I know you have a lot to say about the raid. So tell us about your raid experience so far, what your goals are, and if you have any interesting ideas for Soul of Thamasa. Because I'm hoping you say some things about it, but if you don't, I'll try to make you excited.
Yeah, so I guess probably the first thing I would mention from my perspective is struggling to even participate in the raid as much as people that were like ready for it and have had the time investment. Like I said earlier, like struggling with finishing classes and stuff. Like I think like Wednesday, like the first day, I only got to like level 30 or so, and that was because like I don't know, autoing or something. But it's been interesting hearing other people's perspectives. Like I would not have expected Kane to be able to solo as high as he apparently is able to. I brought him to like 65 solo before adding in like Glaciella or something. But I know I'm not alone here, but like I really appreciate how this raid is like autoable for
Yeah.
people that have like less time on their hands. And kind of coming from that, like soloing a lot of the time, and being frustrated with like not really seeing as many randoms, because it's weird to be frustrated because it's easier for people to get into the rooms that they want, but like I was kind of held back by this impression that like I couldn't solo past like 75 or so. But then I kind of just like reached this realization, like if I need to spend an extra orb to get to 100 or whatever, then I'll do it. So I put together like a Dark Pierce team of like Kane, Ziza. It was really great using like these older units, Ziza, regular Stern, and Shadow Links, and I soloed like one clear all the way up to 100. So it's that has been particularly satisfying for me, because generally I can't get to 100 without like spending an orb for like the last 10 or so.
And that's with Dragoon, Stern, and Lynx, right?
So Dark Pierce all the way. And granted, the state of my roster and my vision cards and stuff, that definitely helps having like max stuff. But
Demon Wall's a pretty good card.
yeah, it's been really enjoyable. And I'm only at like, I don't know, like 60, 70,000 points or whatever. I know people are probably like in the hundreds of thousands by now.
People are already
But
working on their like second +5, and they already have a +4 done, and it's ridiculous.
Well, you can only get 99 recipes. Like, so you can only make like max like
Oh, really?
+5. Yeah,
Mhm.
+5
Yeah, you can only make
Thamasa and
one.
+4.
Oh, that's
Um,
true, because they don't have
yeah,
the like threshold drops or anything like where you get a +2 or a
yeah.
+3 on the way. Oh, damn.
So you gotta
Interesting.
like wait until like the next raid that offers Thamasa for the second +5 or whatever if you're building for that. But yeah, I'm definitely I'm going as far as I can with the Soul of Thamasa. I think it's a great item, and I know like it's definitely been vetted in JP as far as we've heard.
Now,
Have what's that?
I was gonna say, are you gonna use it for like stacking, where you're gonna try to get the half magic on already magic damaging units, or how do you plan to use it?
So I I think like more than like the stat stacking. I think I'm excited for like the the not just the magic res, but the magic penetration.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's definitely going to be useful against magic teams because we like I've said for months now, like magic teams have been one of the hardest teams to kind of counter and like strategize against because we haven't really had that many answers until quite recently. So having this UR item, if you have the time and energy investment to grab it, I think is definitely going to help. Kind of in the way that like the ribbon helped for evade teams.
Yeah, exactly.
Stat stacking is nice though.
Yeah, units that can't wear a platinum rod or platinum mace or something, but still want to have the magic maybe. What about you, JBenson? How's your raid experience going so far? Do you have any special like fancy ideas for it, or are you just kind of doing the same thing as Danyl said with like the DPS units?
Yeah, I've just been I've been soloing. I actually completed a +5 earlier today. I've been using a Dark Slash team. So it's the thing that's really I think changed rating this time around is the stacking. It made an immediate impact. Being able to save up 10 raids and then just bang them out has kind of made the gameplay loop a lot better. And yeah, in the previous raids I've never gotten a +5. I think I got a +4 on all of those raids.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, getting the +5 and doing it in only a couple of days. I mean, granted, I was going pretty hard on it, but I feel like the stacking is definitely a step in the right direction. I think that it does need to be autoable for sure, easier, without having like all the greatest cards and units. For it to be more palatable, I think for the more casual players.
I
So
think also having it only be level 100 is great, because I think the first 2 raids were 150, and like pushing that was
yeah,
it was very stressful.
Yeah.
It would be nice if they kind of added the option to stay at a particular level. Like if you are able to auto an 80 and you're fine with that, maybe you can just toggle it. So okay, I just want to do 80s and I'm fine with the reduced materials that I get. That would be a way to kind of make it casual too for kind of players who don't want to go too hard.
Imagine in their coding, you keep on doing 80s, you keep getting that like 3,000 medals reward because they think it's the first time you got it every time. Gumi coding. No. Locke, what about you? Same questions.
Yeah, I think I'm at level 91 now. I started with the Kane solo. I think I went up to 65 or something, and then just been doing Kane plus Glaciala. And actually, like it just I find that with that team, especially when it gets into like 80s or 85 or something, it's very like random. Like sometimes the boss will just have too many counters and you'll die. So I need to spend that extra orb. But it has like, and I've been doing it on full auto. But if I tried like manual here and there like a couple times, and it was doable with just the two manually up until at least until like 88 or something. And then now I'm just spending +1 orb just to get it up to 100. My goal is to get a +5. I think I will be able to do it because I started with 2,000 of those orange hearts from previous raids and stuff. Yeah, I hope I will. I'm excited for the stats stacking. Actually, I'm also excited for the magic resist. especially on Eldera, who will have plus 38% from her buff, like magic resist, and then I think she starts with like 20%. So add another 10, and yeah, I think that'd be fun. So looking forward to
Now,
that.
is everybody building the magic version? Like they're not even looking at barrier?
I'm going for the magic version. Yeah.
Yeah, I built the magic version. I'm gonna, as my second one, I'm planning on making the barrier. I'll probably have a couple of them, maybe a +0, and then maybe another one I plus up.
Then Danyl, you as well.
Yeah, I was focusing on magic. I have other like accessories for the barrier, you know, like what's the there's like one or two, but
Sortilege I know is one that has like 12 spirit and then some other
yeah,
bonuses and stuff.
but it's nice having like the TP and you know, maybe the magic on this one. So, but I don't know. I feel
TP. Oh, I was looking at that 40 and I just assumed it was attack because it was between HP and magic. Oh, that's sick. I didn't realize it gave TP.
but
Right.
but yeah, I don't know. It feels like it'd be a waste to have anything but magic, you know.
Yeah, I think it's one of those items where you go for the extreme or the unique part first, which is a high magic value on something that's not a weapon. So something I was trying to like nudge people in the direction of, but it didn't happen, so I'll just come out and say it. Something I want to try to do is like there's a lot of niche builds you can do on units that you wouldn't think of normally because they don't have weapons to support it or they don't have really solid scaling in general. But this giving 120 flat magic to anybody has my brain moving for some very janky PvP fun. Things like Red Mage Ryu or Vistral. You could do or Thancred actually.
Red Mage Thancred.
Yeah, let's say you need to do that now for sure.
Of course.
And then just like looking for weird jobs that units have where like obviously not ones that have like 20 magic overall or something really low, but if they have like 100 magic innately and then you can stick this on, pop that to 240, give them like Trousseau and like a Ramo in the party kind of thing and really pump their magic up and then just completely catch people off guard and mess around with that. Does anything jump out to any of you guys for that, or am I just completely on my own here being crazy?
A couple of things I was thinking about was, I mean, definitely the red mages where we don't have like a great magic attack up weapon yet for them. So, you know, your Mirandas and, you know, guys like that would love it. Another one I was thinking
have
about.
Lohengrin now, the 162 magic and.
No, but that's slash, right? That's not
It's
magic
slash
attack.
up though, right?
Yeah, this doesn't have magic attack on it though, right?
But it gives you magic.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is
yeah.
you gain the TP and then the you know, potentially the barrier stats or what have you.
Okay. Yeah.
And you know, you drop a little bit of magic, but you can build a little bit tankier that way. Gilgamesh was the other thing I was thinking about for his Katetsu. You know, because he doesn't really need like a, you know, a great armor piece necessarily because he has his you know, his armor buff. So you could buff up his magic a bit. So there's a couple things I was thinking about.
Masa Greg, let's go.
Yeah, you know, actually, that's a good point. I have been looking forward to the next like hybrid unit, you know, and been kind of like crossed fingers for somebody like Elena from Brave Exvius to come soon for, you know, global exclusive. But I've been thinking that for months, obviously. To kind of tack onto that, maybe not so much for PvP matches, you know, because of the, you know, power creep and current meta and stuff like this, but at least for like PvE content like Tower or whatever, like I'm always on the lookout for stuff like that helps my girl Ziza, and like Ziza actually having like Soul of Thamasa to use to buff her magic, that'll benefit from like Ramu giving her like a magic esper or whatever. Like she can get some pretty impressive chakras. So
the
anybody,
healing?
yeah, it's like it's pretty legit. So that's obviously more of like a side note on this discussion, but
I mean that's exactly what I'm looking for, man. I'm looking for jank ass ways to use Soul of Thamasa on units that aren't supposed to build magic. So I mean, it works for me. Yeah, Chakra is a fun one. I wonder who else, what other units are with Monk on that. Severo, yeah. No, I don't even think he gets Chakra to be honest.
Could have another 100 magic on your Ramza bomb.
Ooh, there you go. Yep, that's That's a good point. Take that one. Yeah, just like these different ways of utilizing older units, it makes me excited. I'm also happy about, this isn't Sol Thamas related, but if we haven't mentioned it before, the Elven Bow on Fina seems pretty sweet, giving her a ton of magic. Daniel's already whooped my ass before with Fina and live PvP, so it's just like
She's
adding on to her Curago would be pretty sweet.
Delita's Farago blade, for instance.
There you go. I mean, yeah, people can low hanger in now because that's a slash attack. But let's see. Yeah, I can't think of any other ones, but that's where my brain went, was primarily the red mages like Vistral and Ryryu. I know a while back I was working on a Ryryu build for a friend who really loves Ryryu, and he's like, man, I wish you could use the red mage. I'm like, give me a few minutes. And I like made this whole like team build thing. Sticking Diablos on there. They're all dark attacks, and multipliers help a lot. So if you add on the Masa magic value, you could maybe push some damage there. But yeah, so any last thoughts about things happening this week or releases recently that you guys are kind of thinking about right now, or if you want to make any bold predictions for next week on what we may or may not be receiving?
I think there's a good chance we might get the 2 new units from JP, possibly, but I mean,
Daniel's like,
in the air,
no
really.
way.
I don't
Oh,
think so.
you don't think so?
I'm firmly on the side of them coming next Christmas. I think their jobs in particular were like, we're not ready for them, just like, you know, the Halloween units. But
We
I am
got the
kind of,
Halloween units.
well, yeah, exactly. But you know, we're still seeing the consequences of that. But I am looking forward to some kind of like, I don't know. I'm just gonna say it again, global exclusive. It'd be sweet to have something like that. If not for Christmas, then like the New Year, you know.
Santa Elda. What's
Oh,
up?
God.
That's what I was waiting for this year. I was so disappointed when they didn't do it. They have to do it at some point. But yeah, JB, what about you?
I was thinking that they would potentially, I mean, kind of before we got into the Christmas season, that they would bring one of the Brave Exvius, you know, global exclusive units that we had there, like, you know, White Knight Noel or Christine or
Yeah.
But who knows what they're going to do. I mean, I've been thinking that they would bring the, you know, at least, you know, the new Venera unit, Christmas Venera, but it could go either way. I can definitely see what Daniel's thinking. You know, we don't have the, you know, pugilist job or whatever, and we don't know. I don't know how much they've actually tuned or thought about how these units would be at a 99 level. You know, especially in our meta, which is, you know, 3.5, 4 months before JP's meta. So then again, they did give us the Halloween units, and so
that's like the big but, right? Like if you asked
Yeah.
me previously, I'd be like, yeah, no way we get the units. But since they set that precedent of like, we don't care, we'll give you 2 brand new jobs on. Well, I guess Lila wasn't a brand new job, so it was fresh, but not brand new.
It's tough because
they're willing to
they
do
get
that.
released with the new weapons too, right? There's the new fist weapon and a new bow. And are we going to get that? Are we going to get that Christmas raid after we've just had this raid? You know, it's
yeah. There's a lot to consider for sure. It's well, I keep bringing it up because I just want to, mainly because I want to poke at Daniel, and just because I know he's so like so against it. But yeah, I don't know. The fact that they released a 4th unit in JP like 2 weeks after the other ones really threw me off. I guess it doesn't really surprise me now that I think about it, but I wasn't expecting it at all. I'm glad. I am glad they got the card though. I don't like when there's like a desynchronized releases where if it's specifically like called the global exclusive, fine, like Fravia, but they didn't say that for the card, but then there was no sign of the card in JP, and I was like, this is very strange because you would expect it to come out at the same time as the units or something. But so I'm glad they got that as well.
So they did get the card.
Yeah, it came out with Victora this week.
Oh, okay.
I think part of my reasoning, not just expectations, but like, or maybe it's part of expectations, but like the whole issue they have with releasing iterations of their client, you know, like they have like they waited to give us all these qualities of life, you know, like I feel like it has something to do with their you know, the programming involved, which I'm not familiar with in the slightest, but I feel like they're just not ready for that state of their client in JP to transfer over to our global client.
I can see that as well. Yeah.
Did you guys catch the speaking of that Christmas card? Did you catch the elemental upgrade that it got on JP? So it gets 35% dex to water allies. So basically the Calum effect.
Whew.
Like just to the unit that's wearing it, right?
Water allies.
Water
To
Really?
allies.
any water unit in
Huh.
the party will get that as well.
Yeah. So, Locke, have you gone through all the JP stuff? I don't remember
No.
if that was a cast that you were on or not.
No,
so-
I don't typically do that.
Oh
Sorry.
no, wait,
I don't either. Yeah.
I didn't do that on the cast. Actually, I did that on the stream, or I went through all the passives. But yeah, so JP has around when we got, I forget what upgrade we got. I think it was around Halloween time. They came out with additional max level bonuses. So it's only at 99. You get this brand new party wide passive, and all of them are element based. So, like this card, for example, the Winter Holiday Party is for water allies in your party, 35% dex. Oh man, so you haven't seen the ice ones then? Oh no! All right, you ready for these?
Okay.
No.
I'm gonna give you this setup. So, Mask of Deceit. It is an ice party ability, 35 pierce attack.
Okay.
Then we're gonna go to Fenrir. For ice allies, it's 50% attack.
Holy shit. But okay, wait. So I know
And-
Fenrir.
It
and-
does stack with
wait.
Ifrit as well, by the way.
And Odin, 25 accuracy to ice allies.
Okay, hold on. If you go back to
Why?
Fenrir for a second, I know Fenrir gets like he gets a buff where it's just the unit that's equipped to it. If he's ice, he gets 50%. Is that different from this, or is that the same thing?
It's party. It's not.
Party, it's not a
bestowed.
unit.
Yeah.
Are you
it's
serious? Damn, that's
party buff.
crazy.
Yeah. Ice.
Okay,
It's Fenrir, Odin, and Mask. I'm like, the ice teams are insane.
damn. No, I had read that. Like I'd seen those effects, the bestowed effect or the additional effect or whatever. I always thought it was just for that one unit that's equipping it.
It's the
That's
equipped unit
insane.
and any allies that have that particular element. So, like for example, the Helena VC that's coming out gives you
Mhm.
like 25 accuracy for dark allies.
Wow.
So
Yeah,
there's a
that's
bunch of
insane.
crazy ones like that. Scion of House Beowulf is 35 slash attack for light allies.
Wow. Oh yeah. Okay. So yeah. So I've looked at these effects. I always thought it was just for the unit that's wearing them.
It's party.
So that's insane. Yeah, that is crazy.
Yeah, they're really pushing or wanting to push into the kind of mono elemental teams. I'll definitely create some kind of unique and interesting builds that you can do. Looking
Yeah,
forward to it.
I think some
They
people
need
are
to
getting.
release more fire
Yeah,
before
well,
they do
some of the fire ones are
that.
pretty good, but
Like-
yeah, right. It's interesting because I don't think you need to have a full team of 3 to really make use of it either. Like if you just have like an Agrius and like a Gilgamesh and you get all those ice things, like that's great, and then they support whatever your third unit is. Oh, here you go, Danyl. The Solidus is 25% HP for light allies. That's pretty sweet.
Jeez, man. I mean, like, I know I'm kind of over exaggerating maybe my responses to these things, but I just like not a fan of power creep, especially unmitigated.
So
We can't expect Gumi to have done this extensive like internal like research on the effects it's gonna have. They're just like, let's make this work and see what
One
happens.
thing I will say is it's not necessarily power creep though, because it is across the board. It's every single UR and every single MR card is getting these. Yeah, including the MRs. And also they're extremely niche, where it's like only one element per card. So like you still there's a team building aspect to it, and also everybody gets it. Like you don't have to like buy a new card that has the ability that like I would argue the vision abilities could be power creep because it's something that the old cards aren't also getting. But like these are applying to all, they're retroactive to every card that you already own.
Well, I meant more in terms of, I mean, that's a good point. I meant more in terms of like stacking them in terms of like
Sure.
meta units, making them like further overpowered.
Well, I think that's part of what's built up the light meta. I mean, they did have like a string of good light units, but then on top of that, like a lot of the kind of meta cards or more popular cards turned out to be light element and got really nice buffs, like Solidus you mentioned, the Beowulf card,
Bahamut got
Bahamut as well.
got Odin attack resistance 20 for light allies. Like, sure, on top of everything else that card does. Like, that's, I think Bahamut's the main reason for the light teams, and obviously Yuna. Like, that whole release together was just insane.
I mean, I'm starting to get more and more excited about using Rob and more often. Like he's kind of effective actually. His resistance is like he's good against strikers and missile resist missile attack and slash. So like
have you
once he
seen the
gets-
Rob card?
no, I've seen like maybe the image of it, but I try not to look at JP. You know, I like to.
Oh, okay. Expectations are leveled out.
I mean,
So,
you know, but it's nice to hear about it.
It's like 300 attack, or sorry, 300 HP, 152 attack, 28 luck, and then all of them are light. So you know it's a samurai card. Only last one samurai can get it. So it's made for Rob.
Right.
Slash resistance penetration bestowed by 18%. Then the party ability for light allies, not the like additional effect, but just the card itself, is 50% attack and 10 evasion. Or sorry, critical evasion. And then the max bonus is 20 evasion for light allies.
Wow.
So
yeah, crazy.
That is a Rob card. Anyway, I don't want to get too deep into this. It's just kind of fun. I always like blowing people's minds with that trio of ice cards. They're just absolutely ridiculous. It's so dumb. I'm so excited to use Rosa, Gilgamesh, and Agrius for months to come. But yeah.
See, I always thought it was by itself, so I was like, oh yeah, I can use this on Rosa, and I can have like 2 other water allies and be fine. 'Cause I thought that it was only for the unit, right? So I was like, yeah, Rosa can wear Fenrir, and I would get 20% magic resistance across the party, and she would get 50% attack to bring up her attack, and now I have to rethink everything. Damn it.
Yeah, actually, this was something I was trying to think of earlier, and it escaped me. Something I'm interested to see moving forward is when this update drops, or rather, when this update would have dropped for us had we followed the same schedule. I'm curious to see if we even get it, because we also have those global buffs to all of these cards where they're buffing particular units, and we're getting additional effects now. So I don't know if we're gonna double dip and also get these, and then JP doesn't have the bestowed effects for some reason. That'd be very strange to me. But also I wonder if at the same time JP will get like our global buffs or whatever, and then we'll get the party buffs. I don't know what to expect, but I'm curious to see how they handle it moving forward.
Yeah, we'll see.
But it does say global exclusive buff on our cards, so
Yeah, it does.
I don't know. I don't know if they'll ever get it.
Well, does it say exclusive or does it say global buff?
I'm pretty sure it says exclusive. Doesn't? I don't know. I have to go check.
I don't know either. But anyway, lots to think about, lots to watch moving forward. But that wraps us up for this week. Thank you, JBenson, and congratulations again, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed yourself both here and in the tournament.
Definitely.
And then, yeah, we will see you next week. I've been Zach Burrell.
I've been Danyl.
I'm Locke.
And we'll see you next time.